Hey, welcome back to Velocette Motorcycle Workshop episode 4, I believe. I will check that if it's incorrect. The title of the video will be correct episode. So originally I thought all these episodes would be to do my 1928 KNS restoration. However, I've sort of moved on to the KTT a little bit, so that's what this video will be about. In behind here we have the clutch, famous Velocette clutch. Been having some starting problems. If you watch my other videos of me riding this bike, you will hear me discussing my thoughts on that. So anyway, the most recent process of elimination is that potentially it's my clutch slipping and not getting me that drive to thrust the engine over, turn it over. Yeah, and I've been kind of trying to adjust it with either it being sort of dragging or it's slipping. However, the last ride I did, it was perfect. Started the first time, I adjusted it before we left and tested the rear wheel to see how it felt. Yeah, it was perfect, didn't seem to slip, so I could put the power down. Started first time, so don't know, but it's tricky to get into second, so from first to second, either if I'm really pinning it and I've sort of maxed out the revs in first, it's okay, just about. If not, then it's the opposite. I've got to let the revs drop right down, the engine speed, and almost my speed's got to slow right down, then it will shift into second. So that's a bit suspicious. Third and fourth have always been fine. So anyway, so I'm going to open it up, have a look, probably replace the friction material in the plates. So what I'll do is I'll get rid of all this tinware, which is a right ball ache to remove on this bike, because I need to remove the footrest, just because this bit won't pull out. And then yeah, and then we'll have a look and we'll come back. Okay, so we're in, got this tinware off. Always a bit concerned about how dry this primary chain is. I don't think the feed from here is coming in doing a lot. There's a little tap here which originally had a tiny little pipe that would come round and feed this. You could set how fast it drips out of your oil tank to keep that oiled. I never bothered instating that. I couldn't find the pipe because the chain guide kind of gets in the way. I don't know how easy it is to get that to loop around the back of it and on top of this. Anyway, chain tension isn't too bad on that. I set all this up recently. The rear feels really tight, but it does say you only need half an inch of travel, and that's because it's a rigid rear end. If I measure that, it probably is only half an inch of travel, but it just feels like you've got to put tension on it all the way, whereas normally a chain's really slack, isn't it? So anyway, might look at that afterwards. First job then, to get this nut off, remove the split pin, get the nut off, get that front sprocket off, and then we can get in at that. I might have to put the rear brake rod back on, but I'll try and just use this to get in between there and see if that will lock it up enough to try and do that. So yeah, let's have a look. Oops. Alright, that wasn't exactly as intended, but it came off quite easily. I guess I may not have over tightened it knowing that it's got a slip pin. Now that's quite important. It's got 2 washers Not quite sure why, but I think it's because the hole that goes through the end of this output shaft needs to line up here with these slots for my split pin, and I think that without that being at that location, it wasn't working correctly. Alright, so now we need to get this one here undone, this nut. Looks like I'll put a mark on it there. I don't know where that corresponds to. Looks like it might be here and maybe here. It's actually two marks by the looks of it, one there. But anyway, I know that this came undone when I had an accident with the gearbox, because the gearbox and lever and brake lever are on different sides to a modern bike. I just got confused in a panic moment and went for the rear brake, but I smashed it down into another gear, which then made that come undone somehow. So anyway, we have a choice of tools. This one I believe is the Velocette supplied tool, I think. But these pins are kind of rounded over a little bit, and you only get drive from one side of the thing. There's 4 holes, so anyway, that's a potential option. When I did it up last time, I used a peg spanner, which is obviously I can adjust it to the right size. That was pretty good, and I did it up extremely tight. I don't know how I'm going to undo it. But I also have this tool from the Owners Club, so that's pretty cool. I'm going to check it, see if I can get it to fit on those, because I know that I had to slightly adjust these. I just took like the edge off of them, didn't quite fit the last one I did. So yeah, anyway, let's see what happens. I'm slightly expecting all these little springs to come pinging out now, so they look like they're bending over, which isn't good. Ah, good. Now we have 2 shims. They don't look in very nice condition, to be honest with you. That one looks like it's had a lot of springs put on it in the past. But yeah, important to have 2. When I got the other bike, it only had 1. No good. Pushes the springs over. Pretty good shape actually. Better than the K&S ones for sure. Alright, so I thought it actually looked pretty good, these friction pads on here. Couldn't figure it out, but I felt like there was some discs missing, and now I've looked at photos of my K&S clutch that I pulled apart. I'm actually convinced that when they built this clutch, the previous person to me, they missed out some plates, right? So when I took this part off, this is the outer, I had that weird kind of gap in between there and there, which is where I think my friction plate should go. If you look at some spare plates that came with the bike, which I am going to use, they're pretty manky. So there's your friction. I've got 3 of these somehow in the spares, and some extra ones of those flat. Well, they're actually dished. You can see that they're dished, but those flat plates, steel plates as well. So yeah, so I'll rebuild this clutch, and we'll get it working hopefully. Alright, sorry about the lighting, let's just change it a little bit. But yeah, so if you look in here, I don't know if you can be able to see, but there's 3 little pins that stick out. I'm just putting a load of grease on them because I just keep wanting to fall out. But I have actually found there is a friction disc here behind this plate, so he was only missing 1 friction disc, so that's a lot better. Whilst I'm in here, I'm probably going to grease these bearings, the thrust washer bearing thing. Okay, so let's try and rebuild the clutch then with the right amount of plates in. It's only missing one in the end, like I say, so hopefully I'll get this in the right order. So this is the back plate. Okay, then I think we want one of these friction plates on there. Then we want the dished one to go in dished side down, and that feels kind of good. Now we need the chain ring. Let's put that on, and this needs to line up with these tabs. There we go, it's gone down flat now, so that's nice, that's what I want to see. I want to see that on the next side as well, but like I see, he had some stuff missing. So I might be able to lower this down in a wanna, we will see. Fuck me. Yes, finally done it. Okay, so that's in position. So, right, because that's such a pain, I want to try and put some cable ties across here. I might even just have a go at one cable tie. Yeah, let's try just one for now. And this I'll cut off, obviously, once I've slid it back on there. Right, this is an issue of concern. So that's the length of the pushing out pin things for the KTT. That's the length on the KNS. So massive difference. We will see. We will see. I'm just wondering whether they were made smaller because the guy was missing the extra friction plate. But they're sticking out with this spring carrier screwed further in, so let's see what happens. Right, just going to apply a little bit of grease to the output shaft. There isn't really any on there, so possibly doesn't need it, but I like a lot of grease. You can see that on my bike by the bloody state of it. Greasier than ever. But yeah, I'm just a little bit concerned that this thing does occasionally spin and used as a bit like a bearing. So anyway, that'll do. Alright, just removing the brake lever thing. It doesn't seem to want to fit on with this in the way, which it came off, but that's because it had one less friction plate, I guess. There we go, so that's on there. Bloody hell, that was a mission. Yeah, so we're on. That's good. Alright, so I'm just going to try and remove the split link on this chain. Okay, she's on. Right, that's cable tie off. Okay, let's put back these tiny little springs, 20 of them, right? Okay, so it's time to put this piece back on, making sure you've got 2 of these shims, washers. The brand new ones that I have for my KNS restoration project. I was going to use these because these don't look perfect, but now I've changed my mind. I'm going to keep with these. I'll keep these 2 for my project. Just going to grease them up a little bit. Alright, so this is the bit most people struggle with, trying to compress these springs enough to get the thing to start screwing on. You have to have your gearbox in top gear, I guess. This is a 4th on mine. And I think that's why the guy left out the friction disc. You can see the little tabs here, he left that out. I think it's probably because he just couldn't get this to screw on. So fingers crossed. I've never done this before, by the way.